Hello and welcome to the Biological Anthropology lecture series. I'm Dr. Richard Jonathan O. Tadurin. Here we explore what it means to be human, biologically, evolutionarily, and behaviorally. Let's begin our journey into the science of humanity. Welcome to Module 5, Fossils, Dating, and Ancient Environments. In this module, we explore how fossils form, how we date them, and how we reconstruct the ecosystems of the past. These are the tools that allow us to piece together life's deep history, our only way of seeing into the millions of years that came before us. In this section, we explore the methods anthropologists use to place fossils in time, from relative dating to radiometric techniques. If the first section helped us understand what fossils are and how they form, this one helps us understand when those fossils fit into the larger story of Earth's history. And that timeline is essential. Without it, fossils would be like pages torn from a book and shuffled out of order. Our goal here is to figure out where each page belongs. Let's revisit what scientists mean when they talk about deep time. Deep time refers to the vast span of Earth's history, billions of years during which continents shifted, climates transformed, and life evolved in ways almost unimaginable from a human standpoint. To make sense of this enormity, geologists created the geologic timescale, a kind of chronological map that divides Earth's past into eras, periods, and epochs. Think about this as the scaffolding that supports every timeline we build in biological anthropology. Let's look at how this helps us. When we say that primates emerged in the Paleocene or that hominins appear in the late Miocene and early Pliocene, we're placing these evolutionary events within a structured, globally recognized system of time. It's not arbitrary. These divisions reflect major transitions in Earth's history, mass extinctions, shifts in temperature, movements of continents that shaped the environments in which organisms lived. Now, this part is important. Without the geologic timescale, fossils would appear to us as isolated points. With it, they become part of a continuous narrative. Think about continental drift, for example. During the Mesozoic and into the early Cenozoic, continents slowly migrated due to plate tectonics. You might wonder why that matters for anthropology. It matters because the movement of land masses influenced ocean currents, climate patterns, and ultimately the habitats available to early primates. The breakup of ancient supercontinents helped create the ecological niches where primate evolution unfolded. The geologic timescale also anchors our dating methods. Whether we're examining volcanic ash layers or deep sea cores, each measurement connects back to this established framework. As we move forward, keep this in mind. Understanding deep time isn't about memorizing dates. It's about appreciating the dynamic Earth on which evolution occurred, and recognizing that the story of human origins is only one small chapter in a much longer geological book. Let's revisit what we mean by relative dating. Unlike absolute dating, which gives us numerical ages, relative dating helps us understand the order of events, what came first, what came next, and how layers of sediment and fossils relate to one another. Think of it as arranging the chapters of a book before you worry about the exact year each chapter was written. Without this ordering, the story of evolution would feel scrambled and disconnected. Let's look at the foundation of relative dating, stratigraphy. When sediments accumulate over time, they form layers or strata. The basic principle, Steno's law of superposition, tells us that in an undisturbed sequence, the oldest layers lie at the bottom and the youngest at the top. It sounds simple, but it becomes incredibly powerful once you apply it to fossil-bearing sites. If you find a hominin mandible below a layer containing stone tools, that positional relationship already gives you a timeline, even before any radiometric testing. Sedimentary environments aren't always neat. Erosion, earthquakes, and animal activity can disturb layers, so reading stratigraphy requires careful observation, not blind trust. Another tool in relative dating is biostratigraphy, which relies on the presence of certain animal species, often called index fossils, whose evolutionary timelines are well understood. Think about pigs and certain types of elephants in Africa. Their fossil sequences change rapidly through time, so if you find these remains alongside a hominin fossil, you can narrow down its age by association. You might wonder why anthropologists rely on animals instead of directly dating the hominin bones. It's because bones themselves often cannot be directly dated unless preserved in specific contexts, whereas surrounding fauna are sometimes more abundant and easier to place in time. Let's look at another approach, stratigraphic correlation. This method compares rock layers across different regions to match sequences of similar age. Imagine two sites separated by many kilometers, each with a distinctive volcanic ash layer. If laboratory analysis shows those ash layers share the same chemical fingerprint, then both sites likely experience the same volcanic event. That means their fossil layers can be aligned chronologically, even if the fossils themselves differ. This helps build broader regional timelines rather than isolated site-specific ones. Cultural dating also plays a role, especially in later archaeological contexts. When stone tools or pottery types appear in predictable sequences through time, they can serve as markers for the layers in which they're found. But in paleoanthropology, especially for early hominins, biological and geological markers tend to carry more weight. Now, why does all of this matter? Because relative dating lays the groundwork for absolute dating. Before we measure isotopes or calculate decay rates, we need to understand the basic order of events. Relative methods tell us where to focus our more precise techniques and help confirm whether those numerical ages make sense in context. As we move forward, keep in mind that placing fossils in time is never about a single method. It's about weaving together multiple lines of evidence, each one tightening our grasp on the sequence of life's history. Let's revisit what makes absolute dating different from the relative methods we talked about earlier. Relative dating arranges events in sequence, but absolute dating gives us numerical estimates, actual years or ranges of years during which an organism lived or a layer was deposited. Think about this as moving from knowing the order of chapters in a book to finally seeing the publication dates printed at the bottom of each page. It adds precision, and that precision is what allows us to build detailed evolutionary timelines. Let's look at the core principle behind most absolute dating techniques: measurable, predictable change. Many natural processes occur at steady rates, whether we're talking about radioactive decay, mineral crystallization, or even the formation of tree rings. If we can measure how much change has occurred and know the rate at which it happens, we can calculate how long ago an event occurred. This may sound mathematical, and it is, but it's built on very clear physical principles. Different methods work for different time ranges and materials. Radiocarbon dating, for example, is excellent for organic remains up to about 50,000 years old, but it's useless for most of human evolution because our earliest hominins are far older. Instead, paleoanthropologists often rely on radiometric methods like potassium-argon and argon-40-argon-39 dating. These techniques measure the decay of isotopes in volcanic rocks. So rather than dating the fossils directly, we date the volcanic layers above and below them. If a volcanic ash layer is 3.7 million years old and the one beneath it is 3.8 million years old, then a fossil sandwiched between those layers must fall within that time window. Think about how powerful that is for sites in East Africa, where volcanic activity created natural timestamps across entire landscapes. Let's look at another widely used method, paleomagnetism. Earth's magnetic field has reversed many times throughout its history, flipping between periods of normal and reversed polarity. These reversals are recorded in the alignment of magnetic minerals in rocks as they form. By matching a site's magnetic signature to the global paleomagnetic record, we can place sediments into a well-established sequence of polarity events. You might wonder why this matters when we already have radiometric methods. It matters because the best timelines come from multiple, independent lines of evidence. When paleomagnetic data and radiometric dates converge, our confidence in the chronology increases dramatically. Non-radiometric techniques also play a role. Dendrochronology, the study of tree rings, may seem unrelated to anthropology at first glance. But tree rings provide an incredibly precise annual record that helps calibrate radiocarbon dates. Thermoluminescence and electron spin resonance dating measure trapped electrons in materials like heated stone tools or tooth enamel. These methods allow us to date events like the last time a tool was heated or the length of time enamel was exposed to radiation underground. Now think about this. All these methods depend on understanding not just the fossils themselves, but the geological context in which they were found. Dating a fossil is never as simple as applying one technique and reading off a number. It involves asking how the material formed, whether it remained a closed system, and whether multiple dating methods agree. This is why field notes, stratigraphic profiles, and laboratory analyses all come together to produce a final age estimate. You might wonder why dating sometimes results in debates. It's because geological processes can reset or disturb the very signals we rely on. Heating can reset isotopic clocks. Groundwater can introduce or remove elements. Erosion can mix older and younger sediments. Each method has limitations, and recognizing those limitations is part of responsible scientific interpretation. As we wrap up this section, keep in mind that absolute dating is not about memorizing techniques. It's about understanding how we anchor evolutionary events in real time. By combining radiometric, magnetic, and physicochemical methods, anthropologists create timelines that allow us to trace the appearance of stone tools, the rise of bipedalism, and the branching of hominin lineages. These dates are the backbone of our narrative of human origins, giving shape and sequence to a story written across millions of years. First, let's revisit what we accomplished in this section. We moved from simply recognizing fossils as physical objects to placing them within the vast chronology of Earth's history. Relative dating helped us understand the order of events, who came before whom, and how layers build upon one another. Absolute dating then allowed us to assign actual numbers, giving evolutionary milestones a sense of scale and precision. Together, these methods transform disconnected discoveries into a coherent narrative. Let's look at why this matters. Without dating, a fossil is just an interesting artifact. With dating, it becomes evidence. A 3-million-year-old footprint tells us something very different from a 300,000-year-old hand axe. The timeline shapes the interpretation, and the interpretation shapes our understanding of human evolution. You might wonder whether these techniques ever conflict or produce uncertainty. They sometimes do, and that's part of the scientific process. But when different methods align, stratigraphy, radiometric decay, paleomagnetism, the picture grows clearer and more reliable. Now, this part is important. Dating is not just a technical step in anthropology, it's what allows us to track change over time, to see patterns of adaptation, extinction, and emergence. It's how we understand when bipedalism appears, when the first stone tools are used, and how ancient climates influenced early hominins. As we move into the next section, keep in mind that every fossil sits within a broader environmental context. Knowing when something lived helps us ask the next big question: what kind of world it lived in? Thank you for joining this lecture. I'm Dr. Richard Jonathan O. Tadurin. I hope this session deepened your understanding of biological anthropology. Keep exploring what it means to be human. See you soon.